Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius.
Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a role-playing video game about elements, another book that you have to read backwards, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Mary Crimmins. Mary is a project manager and former school teacher at the Christ School.
Tiberius, I am so excited to be here with you. I have been looking forward to this since your dad first invited me to come on the show. So thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Today, we're going to start off with the video of the week, and this is going to be a roll.
A roll? What the heck is that, Tiberius?
Don't worry.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
Today's video game is Genshin Impact. This game is made by Shanghai MiHoYo Network Technology. This game is not on Roblox, but it is on Google Play, and you're able to play it on PC and your cell phone. And it is free.
I like free.
Nice. Well, this is the only game from Shanghai MiHoYo Network Technology, but it's amazing. It's like an RPG type of game where you have to search around stuff.
So, Tiberius, I dare you to say Shanghai MiHoYo 3 times real fast.
Shanghai MiHoYo. Wait, what? It's a bit confusing name, but who cares?
It is, indeed.
Yes. So, first off, I get in the game and an intro pops up, and if you want to skip the intro, you can just go to the bottom and press skip. Okay, so now you click one of the 2 siblings. I mainly picked the boy, because, I'm a male. But then this demoness god then takes your sister and throws you by the side of an ocean. Now you're awoken up by Paimon, your new personal companion guide that flies. Then you are told to go to the Statue of the Seven. There, you get your elemental skills. Then you walk through the forest, and on the path, you meet Amber, a knight of Favonius. And then you enter Mondstadt, the whole city. You are given quests and all sorts of things to do.
Wow, that sounds incredibly complicated. Too much for me there, Tiberius, but you are the pro at this.
This is a role-playing game, so you have to move around and find things and defeat bad guys. You have to attack slimes, hilichurls, and other stuff like bosses and stuff like that. Next, you have elemental abilities. That's like a special power early on. You get wind, fire, and even ice elements, which is really cool and very fun. So, they have multiplayer options, but it does create some limitations. You get access to 4 characters in your party, but if you add other players, that access is reduced by the number of players added to force you to work together. Multiplayer unlocks at level 16, and well, me and my dad are there.
So you're at 16 already?
Well, I'm at 22, my dad just got a 16.
Oh, okay. We'll forgive him.
Well, I give Genshin Impact 200 out of 10 stars because you can enjoy doing quests and acquiring more people to join your party. And it was so exciting to play and fight the enemies.
All right, tell me the name of that game again.
Genshin Impact.
All righty.
And now it's time for the book of the week, Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, Book 4. This book is written by the Yen Press. Let me read the back of the book. In fact, Mary, would you like to do the honors?
Oh, certainly, Tiberius. Nene steps into the spotlight. The Mermaid Kingdom hasn't forgotten her, and they're back to claim what's theirs. Can Hanako protect her from becoming permanently fishy? Meanwhile, Ku makes friends with an odd ghost haunting.
Well, this is an error book. It is for 6 whole points. This book is for 4th grade and 3rd month. Well, this is an anime book about a girl in high school, and there are 7 school mysteries from her school. So, let's start with a little backstory, because we're in the 4th book already. So, for those that are new, there was a girl in high school named Ashiro, and she loved the school mysteries. The first rumor that was spread out was Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, which had a dead ghost inside of the ladies' bathroom. And the second being the Misaki Stairs, where if you step on the fourth stair on the stairwell, you'll be teleported into a realm with many scissors trying to turn you into dolls when you get cut by them. Weird, right?
It certainly is. But
Well,
so you've
now-
read the first three, and this is the fourth one. Okay, got it.
So now we have the next rumor, the third rumor, which was the 4BM book stacks, which were full of wisdom. But now it's been a couple of days and the whole school has not had an announcement in a while for another school mystery. But there was another rumor spread around. So, at the entrance of the school, there was a rumor that if you were changing your shoes at the entrance, a ghost would grab you by the hand and ask you, "Do you remember me?" Well, Ku, otherwise Minamoto-kun, was grabbed at one point, and because he's a young exorcist, he almost exorcised the being, but realized it was a person who died a long time ago. And he saw him and was like, "Whoa, that's cool." So they go on a walk and they introduce themselves to each other, and the dead guy's name was Mitsuba, and he loved to take photos of cool animals, and then Tasuko, Hanako's brother in the past, the one that he killed and taken away, and he took away Mitsuba and changed his rumor, and it was... Wait, did I say too much? Well, I want you to read the book yourselves, and you figure out what happens to Mitsuba.
Okay, so the character's name is Ku?
Yes.
All right, Ku, I realize you're fictional, but please forgive me for messing up your name.
Fine. Well, I give Toyabun Hanako-kun book 4 8 out of 10 stars because it was a great book, and I can't wait to read the 5th book in the series. I think people who like anime should read this book series.
Thank you, Tiberius. That sounds like a really interesting book. I love to read. I'm so glad that you love to read as well.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.
And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Mary Crimmins. Mary is a project manager and expert in communications.
So, Tiberius, what I've done is I took my teacher's superpowers of managing projects, organizing, writing, editing, researching, and I've turned them into my business of Crimmins Communications. So thank you so much for having me on the show.
Wow. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
Oh, this is so much fun. I have never been involved in something like this, and this is a great experience.
Well, thank you.
You are welcome.
So, how'd you get interested in project management?
You know, it was simply I knew it was time for me to leave the classroom. I'm a natural born teacher, but what I decided to do was take the skills that I had been honing in on for my entire professional life, 28 years of teaching, prior to that 6 years of working in business, and thought, well, what can I do? And I love to do all those skills. I love to research, Tiberius. I love deadlines. I love writing. I love helping people reach their goals. And that's how I got interested in doing the project management and doing projects for businesses and organizations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you explain to my listeners exactly what is project management?
Well, in the case of my business, what I'm doing is I have clients who are owners of businesses or who are leaders in businesses or organizations, and they have a project, a goal in mind, but they don't have the time or they don't have the skill set to do it. So, for example, I recently interviewed 23 people from around the country who were experts in aquatic invasive species.
Whoa.
So basically different species that attach to boats and get into the ballast systems. And if they're spread, they can really affect the water supply, especially out west where there's droughts. And from that research, I developed a 40-page or so research project that my client was able to present to his clients, to the boat manufacturing industry. I have written and designed and project managed websites. I have edited handbooks for employee handbooks for companies. So every single job that I've done so far has been incredibly unique. Right now, I'm project managing a book. I have a client who's writing a book, and I am going through all the steps with her. I'm making sure that she stays on on the timeline. I'm also making sure that we have the right editor in mind. I do the developmental editing, but we need some other copy and line editing. So it's just been a really cool experience because I've been able to meet neat people like you and your dad and the different clients that I've had, and just taking all my skills and putting them into my Crimmins Communications.
Wow. So now you run your own company doing this. How does that work?
So I'm basically a solopreneur. I work on my own, and once I have a project that I've accepted, I have a deadline, and then I basically chunk it out. So because I always want to make sure I meet the deadline, but I usually like to get it 2 days ahead of time. I don't want to be late. It's kind of like with students. If you turn in late work, that's inconsiderate. For a business owner, being late means I'm not going to get other clients. So I like to be early on my deadlines. That's part of the way it works. I like going out and meeting a lot of people and learning about what they're doing. So there's not really one way that it works. It's the same way with teaching, that every single one of my days is so incredibly different. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. So, you said a new word for me, solopreneur. What is the difference between that word and entrepreneur?
Basically, when we use the word solopreneur, it's that we are working independently on our own. I don't have employees. I don't have a staff. So essentially, I'm doing my own bookkeeping. I'm doing my own marketing. I do my own social media, because a lot of social media out there is, people are delegating it out, but I like to do my own. So everything with every aspect of my company, I'm doing on my own.
So it's like going into pairs for a group project, but being alone.
Well,
if you choose to,
but the thing is, I don't have a partner that's sort of leaving me hanging. I'm the person that can't leave me hanging. If you know what I mean.
That makes sense. So, when did you know that this is what you wanted to do for a living?
Well, I knew that after 28 years of being in the classroom, and also having a business background, as I said before, I worked for 6 years. I bought and sold nuts, bolts, and screws. That was a really cool job, and also owned a business for a few years with my husband while I taught. I knew that I wanted to do something on my own. I knew that I wanted to use my skills. I knew that I wanted more freedom in my life as well. And so that's how the whole idea was born. I've had this idea for a really long time. It's just that the season wasn't right in my life, and the season became right for me to pursue this particular dream.
Okay. How does project management make the world a better place?
I just love to help people meet their goals, to have their goals come to life. The same thing with teachers. Teachers love to help their students reach their goals.
That's true.
And so if I can, use my gifts in that way, that to me helps the world be a better place. And also, like I said, with the report with the aquatic invasive species, we really need to protect our water supplies. With the people where I have, I've also did a prototype for a online course for parasailing. Well, we need to keep people safe when parasailing. So everything that I'm doing not only is helping people meet their goals, but also does have a wider reach, because what they're doing, it has a wider reach.
That makes more sense. So what are the best reasons that a client may need to hire you for their next project?
I think one of the things is that I focus only on a few clients at a time. I don't take on more than I can handle. At this stage of the game in my life, I know what I can handle. I know, I know what my boundaries are. I also know that if it's something that's outside of my skill set, I'm going to help them find somebody who can help them. I meet deadlines. I have a lot of integrity, and I bring a lot of extra to what I offer my clients. It's not just what if I can give them direction or advice or a connection, introduce them to somebody. I try to do that as well.
Now, it says on your website that you work with communication. Well, I can talk and write. What other skills do I need in order to be a good communicator?
I think listening is an incredible skill for a communicator. Also, understanding, as far as writing, understanding that good writing takes a lot of time. Good writing, and also that good writing isn't necessarily a lot of writing. It's not necessarily long writing, that we can be more concise in how we speak, more considerate in how we speak, and more concise in how we write, more considerate in how we write.
That makes sense. Do you need a lot of training in order to run a project management company?
Let's see. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I've had a lot of training because I've taken not just the 28 years of my time as a teacher, but also the several years that I worked in business, and putting all that together, and all that sort of culminated into where I am right now. I've taken that incredible mix of all those different experiences and my expertise and poured it into Crimmins Communications.
Wow. So, what is the best part about being a project manager?
The diversity. I love the fact, same thing with teaching, every day is different and you meet so many different people. So I love the different opportunities because I would have never met your dad and then met you. So it's really, I've had a lot of neat experiences in doing this. I've had, tours of boat manufacturing factories. I have talked to people all across the country. I had this cool experience of touring. It doesn't really sound really exciting, but it really was very interesting. All the different flavorings that people put into coffee when they go to the coffee shop. Well, that was one of my clients, and I toured their factory, and just all these different elements that go into making different businesses work that we just don't think about, So.
Wow. So what is the coolest project that you got to work on?
The coolest. They're each very neat. I think right now the projects that I'm working on with a woman named Amy Calandrino, she's so dynamic. She's Orlando Business Journal's 40 under 40 and a keynote speaker for an event they have coming up. She's really neat. So I'm working on a project with her working on her book. And just that has been very exciting because I know that her writing that book is going to be a goal of hers, and to be involved in that with her. But every single project has been really cool. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool when, do a cool job.
It's kind of like when I was teaching and my students would say, Mrs. Crimmins, you think everything is interesting. I said, but it is, different parts of what I was teaching I thought were just so important to learn. And so now with who I work with, I just find the people I work with and the things I'm doing just incredibly interesting.
You should find everything interesting, even if you are a child.
Yeah. Find
everything interesting.
There you go.
So what is the hardest part about running a project management company?
I think the hardest part for me right now, a lot of times, is that I do work by myself, so I don't really have people that I can turn around. Because in the past I might go down the hallway and talk to your teacher next year, Mrs. Sheldon, and say, I need help with this, or I need you to encourage me here. And I don't really have that on a daily basis, but I do have two great groups that I belong to. We meet weekly on Zoom. One's a professional writers, and the other one is a group of entrepreneurs. And it's just very helpful to have other people to talk to throw ideas around, and to also let them know when I'm feeling, frustrated or anything like that. But that's the part, that's a little difficult.
Wow. And the reason why she said Mrs. Sheldon will be my next teacher next year is because she was a teacher at my school.
Yes, I was at the Christ School for 19 years of my 28 years in education.
Wow. What was the best part about being a school teacher?
Oh, gosh. I love the fact that each day was different. I love the fact that I was in a room with really, really incredibly smart people. Like I wasn't the smartest person in the room, so I learned constantly. So it was just that, always having these great conversations and discussions with 11, 12, and 13-year-olds was phenomenal.
Well, what did you teach?
When I taught at the Christ School, sometimes I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th, and mainly I taught the social studies areas, so U.S. history, U.S. government, geography. I also taught Bible some years. Different years I taught different. I had a leadership course, which was so incredibly cool. It was really hands-on, very active course that I loved doing. So I had a lot of different courses that I taught, but primarily throughout my time there, 8th grade, U.S. history and government, and 7th grade, world history and geography.
So why did you decide to stop teaching kids?
I decided, I love the fact that you said stop teaching kids because I'm still a teacher, but not a classroom teacher. But I decided because I felt like God was telling me it was time to pursue something else. And he had been telling me for a long time to write. And so I thought, well, I can write for others and then also do my own writing as well. And so there's some different projects that I'm working on. For instance, right now I'm writing a book about the Holy Spirit at work, and I'm hoping to have that done within the next month. So I really felt like God was calling me out of the classroom to move on to some other areas of my life.
Wow. So who can you say was the person that helped drive your passion the most?
Okay, let's see. As far as driving my overall passion throughout life, I think my parents give me a lot of independence and freedom. And so that was great. But then I also have an incredible husband that's very supportive. And probably early on, the seed was my parents. But throughout the majority of my life, because I've been married to my husband for 3 million years, would be him. His support of my different ideas and his support of me pursuing leaving the classroom and leaving a very, very, very secure job. I was teaching at Dr. Phillips High School and moving away from all of that security into something that wasn't so secure. Yeah.
Wow. So what advice would you give to my listeners if they wanted to grow up and run their own project management company?
I would say, first of all, do a lot of your homework and write down your vision. Write down what you want your life to look like. Doesn't mean that every day is going to come out that way, but if you don't write down your vision of what it is that you want in life, with every aspect, your finances, your physically, spiritually, with your family, then you really are going to get kind of lost in whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's managing projects and writing like I do right now, or becoming a YouTube star like you are. Yes, a YouTuber. It just, you got to write it down and keep revisiting it so you don't lose sight of what it is that you want to do. And of course, you sometimes have to rewrite it, but that's okay.
Okay. What is the best advice that you've ever received, and who gave you that advice?
Well, oh gosh, I can think of more than one piece of advice right now. But first of all, do you know Mrs. Fleming at the Christ School?
Yes.
Okay, so Mrs. Fleming's husband, sorry, Joanne, but it's actually advice from her husband, Jeff. Years ago, Jeff was being sworn in to be a judge. I think he's returned back to private practice as a lawyer. But I was honored to be able to watch him be sworn in. And when he spoke afterwards, he said, "Thank you for showing up." That the gift of everybody being there for him meant so much to him. And while he didn't mean it as advice, he was saying it as gratitude, I took it as advice because from then on, if there's a wedding or a shower or something else, I try to show up. If there's a graduation party, I really try to show up for people.
Otherwise, like a special thing that's happening.
Yeah, a special event. Or if somebody, often within when I was teaching, people would walk in to ask me to help them word an email or to ask my opinion on something or ask for my support on something. Or now with my business, every now and then I get a client saying, "Oh my gosh, I really need you to take care of this right away." And showing up for people that way as well. Yeah.
Smart. What was the very first job that you've ever had?
I worked for 3 months at the Crystal Palace, which is a restaurant on Main Street at Walt Disney World in the Magic Kingdom. Couldn't stand the job, and I had to ride the city bus because my dad worked on Saturdays. He could pick me up and take me on Sundays, but on Saturdays I had to take the bus all the way down to Disney and then all the way back home.
I'm sure your tailbone hurt. Well, was there anything you learned from that job that helped you to be a better project manager?
Yeah, I think definitely, first of all, is that in any job that you do, there's certain aspects that you don't like, but you still do the best that you can. And yes, that was a lesson that I learned because I did show up every weekend for 3 months, but I eventually found a job closer to home, which is where I met my future husband.
Nice. So what message do you want to tell children all over the world about doing the work that you do?
I think doing the work that I do, I'm using my gifts and my talents. And so children around the world, just think about what your gifts and talents are and how can you use those to serve others? How can you use those to, like you asked earlier, make the world a better place? And how can you use those in a way that's a stepping stone to develop other ideas to put out there? But just zoning in on gifts and talents.
Okay. Now, my dad said that you also do research and write. Now, does that mean I can hire you to do my next homework essay?
You know what? You may not, because I certainly believe in the fact that learners got to learn, and you got to do the work, and you got to make sure that it shouldn't always be easy. So, but I do love researching and writing. I know that's crazy. Yeah.
Well, what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Biggest mistake I ever made. Biggest mistake. You know, I think, gosh, there's so many mistakes, definitely. A lot of mistakes, a lot of lessons learned. But I think one is that when I first started teaching, I taught for 2 years, and I taught 7th through 12th grade at the same time. And I completely burned out. And so I quit teaching, and I went into working for a law firm for a couple of years and then returned back to teaching. So the biggest mistake was the fact that in that particular job, I didn't say no. But I think I also said yes too often other times in my teaching career. So having to learn, I'm real good with boundaries, but also having to learn that sometimes people have too many priorities for you, and you have to really be able to say, okay, these are this many priorities. Priority means one thing. Which one of these things is the most important?
Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? You know, remember, this is a kid show, but that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
One story that I'm not supposed to tell you about. Oh my goodness. One story I'm not supposed to tell you about. I have a lot of those, and you can ask my husband and my sons. I have a lot of those. But I'd have to say I like to hike. I love to hike.
Wow.
And I especially like to hike up to waterfalls, and there's really not hiking in Florida per se because we have flat land. But I was doing this great hike in North Carolina at Jones State Park. I was by myself. I like to hike by myself too. And I, for some reason, decided to go off the path. Which probably isn't the best thing, number one, ever to do, whether you're hiking by yourself or not. And the next thing I found myself was, and don't tell my husband this, okay? Please don't tell. I found myself basically walking and then on a rock. And then there was no more path because it dropped down into the valley. So again, not the brightest thing in the world to do. I don't know why I did it. I just thought, that looks kind of interesting. So big mistake.
Okay. Is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Oh, gosh. I'm a mom. My kids are all grown up. I have 2 grown boys. They are adults. I have the most fabulous, most adorable, smartest 18-month-old grandson. Aww. And I have 2 hound dogs, Buck and Bailey, who my husband and I enjoy walking, and they're really good dogs. They don't look like they're good when we're in our neighborhood because they go a little crazy, but if we take them out in public anywhere else, like around Lake Eola downtown here, they're really well behaved.
Nice. Well behaved dogs are good.
Yes.
Dogs are different, or cats are a different story. Do you have a Facebook or website for my listeners that want to follow you?
Oh, yes. So it would be at Crimmins, Crimmins Communications, again with an S on the end. And my website is CrimminsCommunications.com. And again, that's CRIMMINS Communications.com.
Nice. Now, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Oh, goodness. Maybe, let's say you forgot to ask me about how much I love to travel and what's the most interesting place I've been to. And I've been to a lot of interesting places, but I once had the chance to hike in a place called Oman. Do you know Oman? Do you know where it is? Okay. Oman is a Middle Eastern country. And if this is Saudi Arabia, this is the Arabian Peninsula. It's right down here, and I was able to hike an incredible hike in which it required swimming a river, climbing between two whole cliff of rocks, really narrow, in the river, and then ending up in a cave with a waterfall.
Wow.
So cool experience, but I love to travel, and that's one of my coolest experiences that I had.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
I certainly can.
Tiberius's favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
Thank you, Mary, for helping me with Math Corners. This week, we're going to do some more multi-step word problems. My dad is always good at finding new problems for me to solve. Today, we're going to talk about scale drawings.
All right, let's do this.
Frank made a scale drawing of the middle school. The scale of the drawing was 5 inches in the ratio of 9 feet. If the actual width of the gym is 72 feet, how wide is the gym in the drawing? Well, first, this is a real-world problem because we do like to make maps and scale drawings of buildings around us. So, to solve this one, you have to figure out the ratio of feet in real life to inches on the drawing. Now, we know the scale is 5 inches equals 9 feet. So, if you take 72 feet and divide it by 9 feet, you get 8. Okay, so this is good. Now you take that 5 inches and multiply it by 8 because that's what we got, and then you have 40 inches. So we know that you need a really big piece of paper to draw that gym. Must have some amazing detail.
All right, I'm with you so far.
So, Mary, have you ever had a project that was printed on a sheet of paper that was almost 4 feet long?
Yeah, I definitely have. Okay.
Wow.
Because you get that butcher block paper from
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Got to get that Post-it paper. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Yep. Those are beautiful. Now, Mary, my teacher said that I would use math every day. Do you use math in your work?
I definitely do. I do indeed. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary, for your help with Math Corners. And now it's time for the heart of a lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about leadership. For me, I think leadership is the act of loving what is good, having self-control, and being disciplined. The qualities of leadership is providing guidance and direction, organization, and being a positive influence on others. So I was at the office with my dad on Tuesday, and he was producing a political TV show. He was very busy with the cameras and the microphones and even the lighting. The host was practicing their questions, but they did not have someone to run the clocks that they had for time. I offered to learn to do the timers, to manage the clocks of the 4 guests, and the 1 host, as well as for the timer for all the commercials. This was a big job. When a commercial was coming up, I would tell the host to cut off the guest and to cut to the commercial. I used hand signals to do it, and it was fun. This was providing guidance to the host, and because it was recording, I had to be quiet the entire time. So this took a lot of self-control and discipline. The host told me I was very good in doing the timers, and that it helped him giving him the directions of when to stop his guests. So, Mary, did you see or use leadership at all this week?
Yes, definitely. I am a member of an online group that is a group of professional writers, and so the man that leads the group, Kent Sanders, is very quiet-spoken man, but through his nobility, and his wisdom, he's a really good leader of this group. I don't know that he would think of himself as a leader, but he brought together the group of people, and he's the one who sort of MCs everything as we're going through our Zoom discussions.
Nice. Of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is the one that you see the most?
Integrity, because I iron sharpens iron. So the people that I associate with are people of great integrity. So I see integrity a lot.
Okay. Well, we should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
We should indeed, Tiberius.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Mary Crimmins.
Thank you.
No problem. It has been so much fun talking with you today. I think we learned a lot about what a project manager is and how communication is a key learning skill.
All right. Well, thank you, Tiberius. I really appreciate being on the show.
Thank you. And do you mind giving your social media and website again?
I would love to. I'm on Instagram as well as Facebook. It's at Crimmins Communications. And then my website is Crimmins, Crimmins, Communications with an S on the end, .com. Yes, and if people want a free guide on 10 great tips for communication, just send me an email.
Wow. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show. And please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
All right.
That's a wrap. And booyah.